The R90 was a huge success for BMW. 10 years after its launch, it easily became not just my personal favorite bike, but also one of the most iconic models in the brand's lineup. As that model turned 10 and BMW Motorrad turned 100, the motorcycle manufacturer followed that up with something special. No, not an R100, I'm talking about the R12 and the R1290. Building on the success of the R90, BMW used the same classic roadster formula for these two and added a little more refinement into the mix.
But while these two models are almost one and the same, I believe the customers they'll cater to are very, very different. That's why I also think this, the R12, could be a bit more important than its twin. Because this is the legit Tito bike.
The R12 nineT is the same roadster we know of. This R12, on the other hand, has a more cruiser-like build. It has a more relaxed riding position and it's tuned with a bit less power than its twin. If you want a more spirited or aggressive ride, by all means get the R12 nineT. But if you're much like the average Tito with the GS who only gets to use his bike for quick breakfast rides on weekends or the once in a blue moon road trip, then you might want to take a closer look at the R12.
Don't get me wrong, the R1250 and R1300 GS are way more capable machines than the R12. But that also proves my point here. Like I said in a previous video, the top-of-the-line GS models are just way too big, way too powerful, and have way too much tech for the average daily rider.
Here's where the R12 comes in. A lot of those GS owners probably got a GS anyway because there wasn't a legit Tito bike in the BMW lineup. Sure, the R18's there, but that's way harder to bring to the nearby Starbucks than the 1250. This R12 is lighter to push around, easier to maneuver, and way less intimidating than both those bikes. It's got a smaller engine to go along with a very friendly seat that's just 754mm high. It's basically a baby R18.
It doesn't have forward foot pegs or high handlebars, but the riding position feels nothing like that of a cafe racer or an aggressive naked. It is arguably a lot easier on the back. Perfect for the aging Tito. And in case you were wondering, the R12 comes standard with a pillion seat. The black comfort seat, among a few other things, comes with the option 719 trim. In the rare occasion that the Tito rider wants to bring the missus along, it's still a possibility.
Now the R12's engine may be a bit smaller than the other currently available boxers, but it's still no slouch. The R12 packs a familiar 1170cc air and oil-cooled 2-cylinder boxer engine that produces 95 horsepower and 110 Nm of torque. That's 14 horsepower and 5 Nm less than what the R12 nineT can put out, but I doubt that's significantly noticeable for day-to-day riding. The R12 still packs quite the punch. It's just right and cruises at a relaxed pace when you want it to, but it can also be pretty lively when you need that extra oomph. For regular highway riding, which is what most BMW owners are accustomed to anyway, it's so much more than enough. The riding part's pretty straightforward too. It comes standard with a keyless ignition and an analog gauge with a small digital display. The option 719 adds this subtle tiny instrument cluster that has all the information you need, except the fuel gauge. Apart from the usual trip meters and RPM gauge, this cluster includes a tire pressure monitoring system. Imagine having that but not getting a tiny fuel gauge. Heck, it even has an engine temperature gauge. And get this, connected ride features.
Not that you'd need all that tech anyway, of course. Some GS Titos probably haven't even bothered sifting through the entire menu on their bike's head units. So I'm sure they'll appreciate the pure riding function on the R12. It's this tiny bit you can select on the menu that somewhat turns the bike into a full-on retro motorcycle. It leaves nothing on the display but the speedometer, the gear shift indicator, and the ride mode indicator. Pretty cool.
But even if you do switch to that, you'll still have modern creature comforts at your disposal, such as cruise control, heated grips, and an awkwardly positioned USB-A charging port. ABS and traction control, cornering ABS and cornering traction control, adaptive LED headlights, and a ride mode selector are also available.
If you're familiar with the R18, that only has two ride modes, Rock and Roll. Same goes for the R12. Roll is for the everyday commute, and Rock is for the spirited weekend rides. The latter opens up more power and makes the bike feel a lot livelier.
Now, I said this is a Tito bike, but that doesn't mean it's just mostly for cruising on the highway. It is, yes, but it can also still carve corners on Marilake if you're so inclined. What you will want to avoid is traffic in the city. The ride is excellent on asphalt, but it can be a bit hard on roads like EDSA. The clutch is also as stiff as ever. I barely got through half an hour of stop-and-go traffic. Not to mention the heat coming from the engine when you're in a bad traffic jam. It makes life in the city so much worse. But again, I doubt the people who'd end up buying this would use it as a daily rider anyway, which makes the no maintenance needed shaft drive an even more perfect fit. Out of everything though, perhaps my favorite part here would be the design.
So we brought out an actual R90 for good measure. This is an Urban GS variant. Shout out to Boss Carlo for bringing out this bike for us. These two have the same round headlights and the same boxer engines underneath. This has upside down forks and it no longer has the unique R90 air intake that this one has. What it does have are the chrome R12 badges underneath, similar to what you'll find in the R18. Told you this was a baby R18. Now while we don't have the actual figures, the R12 is also a bit longer than the R90. It also has a teardrop-shaped tank and a 19-inch front wheel that make it look a bit bigger. It also has option 719 bits all around. You'll find them here, here, over there. Just look around and you'll find them. And it also gets this beautiful black and gold accents on the silver tank. This looks so much better than the regular R12 and the regular R1290. It just looks so much more handsome.
If I'm gonna be brutally honest here, BMWs feel like partly a status symbol at this point. And at 1,315,000 pesos for the R12 option 719, it feels very much like one. It's just a good thing that at the end of the day, this is still a very capable machine, and a beautiful one at that.
Other Japanese cruisers surely offer a lot more value for money, but the R12 has something that they don't. A BMW badge. And for most customers, that's the only selling point they need.